And we are back. We are the Coalition Loud and Proud, outrage porn free, civilly disobedient media. Again, broadcasting on the worldwide Coalition Media Network here on Go Local Live. 90 Wave Austin Street, the mean streets of Providence, the naked city, the city with 1,000 stories. We've got a very special guest on the line joining me for a few minutes. Any casual listener to the show knows that we talk about Invenergy. And of course, this is the Invenergy Power Hour. Joining me on the line is Sean Trenk. He is one of the 3 individuals who took it upon themselves in an act of sacrifice through some of the worst weather we've had in a long time to march literally from the shores of the Atlantic, Rhode Island, on up through the North-South Trail, all the way to Burrillville, and some would say even beyond. Sean, welcome to the Coalition.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
So, first of all, I was there on Sunday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, bleary-eyed, and there you guys were, the 3 of you, ready to do battle. Congratulations on an epic effort. What was your motivation? Where did this come from? And how the heck can you walk 68? How many miles was it?
Altogether, it was a little bit more than 79 because we ended up actually walking to Douglas State Forest and having a little get-together at the pavilion there. So.
Yeah. So how does someone walk 79 miles in the space of 3 rain-soaked days?
Painfully. No, we had a great time, and honestly, it was all for a great cause, and we were live streaming our trip the entire time, every couple hours, stopping to make some videos, and just the comments alone that we were getting from people in Burrillville and all over Rhode Island was really enough to just keep us going. It was a great motivation to have our friends and family supporting us the entire way through. So.
Excellent. Now, tell us about your Burrillville story. Give us a little sense of your local flavor.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Burrillville, went to school there, graduated from high school there, played local sports, and of course, grew up playing in the forest of the now proposed Invenergy power plant. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, when I graduated, I actually ended up going to college in Kentucky. So I spent 4 years there, and then would come back and work my summers in Rhode Island seasonally for the state in recreation, and eventually I ended up moving back to Kentucky full time after I graduated college. But when I heard that they were going to build a power plant right in one of the most beautiful areas in northern Rhode Island and Rhode Island in general, I was outraged, and I was talking to my father about it, and we just kind of thought about, well, what's something that we could do? And obviously there's tons of people protesting, fundraising, educating everybody in the state, and we were just trying to think of what's something big that we could do to bring people's spirits up, maybe fundraise a little extra money, but really just create some more statewide awareness of the issue that's happening in Burrillville, and that's kind of where the hype came from.
Now, there were 3 of you. Again, the weather, it started out so beautifully. We were all there on the beach together. You guys literally dipped your toes into the Atlantic and then headed north. When did it all start to go so horribly wrong? I don't want to say it was horribly wrong. There were a couple, 2-day period where it was not the most pleasant weather, but no. The first day we couldn't have asked for better weather. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the photo op was perfect. We all went down, got our feet wet. It was amazing. Right. By the second day, it started raining a little bit. We're like, okay, we can deal with this. A little bit of rain never hurt anybody. Mm-hmm. By that 3rd day, we pretty much walked from the George Washington campground to Douglas State Forest, pretty much nonstop raining. Right. It was pretty miserable at that point. But luckily, as I said, we had everybody cheering us on. And we'd hop on our social media and go, oh, we're quitting. We can't go any further. And then we'd see someone say, hey, guys, you're doing a great job. Keep going. We're like, gotta keep going. So it was really everybody in town that kept us motivated through the weather. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Councilman Ray Trank, who happens to be my father, right. He would meet us at all the road crossings and give us ponchos if we needed them. He delivered a little bit of hot food late at night when we were too tired to cook. Mm-hmm. He was kind of the 4th man on the trip.
pretty much being there whenever we needed them, helping us out, anything we needed. We took a little pit stop on the Plainfield Pike, and he was there to make sure that we didn't get run over or anything like that. So really, it was an entire team effort, from everybody doing the social media to the people that were helping, meet us at road crossings, stuff like that, help us with water. But yeah, the three of us who walked, we were just one small piece of a larger thing, and really at that point, rain or shine, we were doing it. So there was no not doing it at that point.
Right. How did you train specifically for this, or you just do this all the time?
Well, I'm a little lucky. I actually coach a mountain bike team for a college, so I get to go outside a lot and hike and bike and stay pretty active. But even for me, I did a lot more hiking than I usually do. I was kind of a weird guy in my town, walking around with a backpack, every night through town. People go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm training." And they go, "Okay." Give me weird looks. But no, it was one of those things where you can train as much as you want, but I don't know if there's any training for 79 miles in 3 days. So
right.
It was rough to say the least, but definitely worth it. Definitely a worthy cause. I know you guys have gone on endless about energy and the lack of need for this power plant. But we just wanted to get up there and do our little part. That was the thing. We knew we needed to do something to create awareness and something that would inspire people. And we said, you know what? Most people hike this trail in 7 days. Let's do it in 3. Trail in 7 days. Let's do it in 3.
Talk about the North-South Trail. Folks, everybody knows about the bike path. Everybody knows about the Appalachian Trail. This was something that was new to me. Talk about the importance of the North-South Trail, and just also what kind of terrain and what did you see?
Well, the North-South Trail, it's a great trail. First of all, it's a mixture of road, trail, and gravel road. It starts at Blue Shutter Beach and ends, which is in Charlestown, and ends in Burrillville, Rhode Island, on the Douglas border state line in the Buck Hill management area. And in between, you're basically walking through beautiful management areas like the Carolina, Arcadia, George Washington. And that's when you're on the trail sections. When you're on the gravel roads and tar roads, you're walking through some of the most rural, scenic areas of western Rhode Island's farmhouses, communities. I remember one place we walked through. We basically came through the forest, and we're in this woman's front yard. And she came out of her door and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Talk to us." And she's like, and she told us the whole history of her property. Back in the 1800s, how big it was and how it got brought up into different little divisions, but how she kept the main house, she kept the main property pretty much the way it was back then. Obviously she had a little bit of electricity and some indoor plumbing to it, but basically kept the aesthetics of it the way it was. And and that was the whole time. We were walking everywhere we go. We'd bump into somebody, they give us a little piece of history of that part, or we'd meet somebody and go, "What are you guys doing? Where are you guys coming from?" And it was such an eye-opening. I lived in Rhode Island almost my entire life, and I learned so much in that 2 days about Western Rhode Island that I had no idea about. It was beautiful. And of course the trail itself is, it's kept up in great condition. It's an immaculate trail. A lot of people don't realize this. Rhode Island is not known for being a big state, but having a 79-mile trail is amazing. And it's right out your back door. Anybody can go walk it. It's free to walk. And there's a lot of great sights to see. You don't have to leave the state to get really close to nature sometimes. So
right now, much has been said on this show, and we can't spend enough time educating folks about the environmental impact of I'll call it the sort of the nature pipeline that takes place up through the center of Rhode Island, upon which this power plant, this environmental time bomb, as we call it here on the Coalition, will land in the middle of. So, you essentially follow that pipeline up through the center of the state. Talk about, if you will, and I know I'm not asking you to be at the Audubon Society, but talk about some of some of what you saw, some of what you felt, some of the natural habitats that you marched through that are going to be profoundly impacted, even in other parts of the state, by this path. Talk about some of the things that you saw.
Well, first let me say I'm a little biased to begin with because in college, I graduated with a degree in recreation and natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, I obviously have a desire to protect and keep natural areas, the way they are, beautiful and for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, this part of Rhode Island, regardless of whether you believe in the power plant or don't believe in the power plant, we simply just don't have enough natural resources to waste. And, Western Rhode Island is the last part of Rhode Island that is pretty much still forested to a large degree. I mean, the wildlife that we saw, we walked through at one point and we were watching a snapping turtle give birth, and we just, we stopped, we looked at that and we admired it and we just kept on going. Then, 50 feet down the trail, there's some deer running across, there's rabbits, there's squirrels, there's hawks, and at one point we sat down for a half hour and we just watched owls flying around, the tops of trees. It was amazing, the amount of wildlife we saw, the amount of just natural beauty, the streams, the natural waterways. It was just an amazing sight. We couldn't have taken enough pictures. We tried our best to describe and illustrate the beauty of what we were seeing. But, unless you get out there and walk it, you just don't know. There are sections out there that you would think you're in the middle of Maine or New Hampshire. You're so isolated. And then you realize, oh, my God, I'm on the Connecticut-Rhode Island border. And, if I just walk 10 miles out, in either way, I'm back in that town. It was just a really spectacular trip. And, the natural beauty, I just can't see Rhode Island losing this. If they lose this, that's it. They're not going to, this isn't going to come back. And, there's so many areas where if this power plant really had to be, it just absolutely had to happen. There are so many Superfund sites in Rhode Island and so many other areas that have been damaged already that this plant could go. Mm-hmm. Just to think out of pure convenience and expense of the company who's going to make millions off this power plant regardless of where they build it, mm-hmm. would be so selfish to say, oh, it has to be in between these two beautiful management areas in Rhode Island that just happen to be close to the power line. Well, that's great for the company. I'm glad they're going to save a lot of money. But if the people of Rhode Island really care about their state and the future of their state, we got to protect these lands. We just don't have the area and space and natural resources to lose this. This, especially with a proposed power plant, it's a beautiful area between two very large management areas. And I just can't imagine the people of Rhode Island 50 years from now saying, I'm so glad we cut those trees down. We definitely need this power plant.
Right.
It astonishes me that, and I think I talked about this during the trip. I remember as a student in high school and middle school taking trips to the Johnson landfill and being taught how important it was to protect our environment and how recycling matters and how, the ocean state was going to be the leader in green technologies. And then I hear we're getting a natural gas power plant. It just doesn't make any sense. It goes against everything I was taught as a kid, everything that I thought our state stood for. I just don't understand it. I really don't.
Yeah, and the trouble here is, this isn't. Once you break this, it's done. You don't ever get a chance to rebuild this. This isn't something that can be pieced back together. These environmental, I'll call it the environmental pipeline, if you will. This is irreplaceable. It took millions of years to create what we now know as this natural preserve. It isn't coming back.
I agree 100%. When people say, man, I can't believe there's black bears in South County, it's like, well, where do you think they're walking from? They're not coming down I-95.
Right.
This is the route.
Right.
They're not hitchhiking down there. This is the amount of wildlife that uses this area. If you don't want to see black bear anymore, if you want to see, if you don't want to see fisher cats in the state anymore, if you don't want to see rare species in southern Rhode Island anymore, build a wall. That's basically what you're doing here. You're building a natural gas wall, if you want to call it that. It's going to stop the entire flow of nature, and that's going to affect birds. It's going to affect fish. It's going to affect everything. It's one thing after another that's going to be affected when you start taking it around. It's just amazing how little thought has been given to the ecology of the area, how much it's going to impact the natural terrain. Like you said, in 50 years, if they decide they don't want this power plant, it's already too late. It's gone.
Right.
It's there.
Right.
And I don't know if Invenergy is going to come back in 100 years and say, well, we're willing to take down the plant now. No, that's not going to happen. When they're done with it, it'll be abandoned, and there it will be.
Right, and it'll join it'll join all the other carcasses, if you will, of generations past when we didn't know better. And we have no excuses.
Agreed.
We have no excuses this time because we do know better, and we know exactly if this is allowed to go through. We know exactly how the movie ends. Well, Sean, thank you so very much for calling in. I think we've got your partner in crime, if you will, on the other line. We're going to get him on in a minute. But congratulations! It's a noble effort. People asked me if I was going to go along, and I said, "Well, no, they don't need to be carrying a stretcher as well as 3 backpacks." So congratulations. If you were to Google, "You are the man," you and your 2 comrades would be showing up right there. You are in fact the man. So God bless, and
Well, thank you.
And don't be a stranger.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, and you guys keep up the great work. I mean, like I said, it's people like you that's making this all possible and make everything work. So, thank you so much, and I hope we keep our eye on beautiful. So,
God bless. No better words have been spoken. Sean Trank,
all right.
son of Burrillville, now a resident of Kentucky, who came all the way back to do a 79-mile march. Oh my. Well, through the miracle of technology, we've got another caller that's going to come in online in just a second. God bless the internet. All right. Our second hiker is calling in. Who's on the line right now? Have we got him? I love technology. Oh, here we go. We'll give it another shot. All right. Who do we have on the line right now?
Hello?
Hey. I think we've got our second hiker. Thanks for your patience.
This is Paul.
Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Paul Ernst, and I'm a longtime Burrillville resident. And I actually live less than 1 mile from the compressor station, which is where the proposed power plant is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about growing up, because you spent your childhood in Burrillville?
Yes, I lived pretty much my whole life in Burrillville, and so I was there for the MTBE leakage, and we dealt with that, and so I went to the meetings and followed up when they wanted to, clean that well, and they were talking about the plumes that were going to be created, and so that was scary.
Because you must have been a young child then.
Yeah, I was really young. I know most of it from what my parents tell me.
Right. So growing up with that's, and folks, if you aren't familiar with the MTBE spill that occurred in Pasco, the term water buffaloes took on a whole new meaning in Pasco, because for a significant period of time, the water supply for Pasco was effectively trucked in. Now, we all take that for granted. We take water supply, electrical supply, we pay our bills, and it just magically appears. And that wasn't the case if you're a young child growing up at that time. Now, so have you always been an outdoors kind of guy? Have you always been a hiker?
Yes, I love hiking. So this was kind of like a mix of 2 passions. One, and because I really do care about climate change, and I also really do like to hike. So, and I live in the area, so it was just a perfect mix. I couldn't say no.
Right. So this was a way for you to make a very unique, very personal statement that very few people, you, Sean, and Mike, this wasn't a walk around. This was a physically demanding trail. And again, I'm making light of it for conversations, but the last 2 days, the weather was tough. It was a tough walk to begin with. What did you do when you finally got home after 79 miles? Did you go right to sleep?
I took a shower, and I did pretty much go right to sleep. After I actually did see a play, and then I went to sleep. But yeah, I slept good that night because the 2 nights that we spent on the trail, I actually did not sleep really at all. My tent leaked pretty badly.
Oh.
So I was in the water for 2 nights.
And anyone who's been in the military or who's an outdoorsman knows that that's the one thing that makes life miserable. Wet feet. That's just tough. But
yeah, it was funny. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but you found people to be very supportive on the way. Sean was just telling us some stories.
Yeah, definitely. People were happy that we were doing it. You know, that I was surprised to see that a lot of them didn't know that they lived on the trail, though. They didn't know that it was the North-South Trail. One of the people asked us if we were doing the Appalachian Trail. So, which is too bad because the trail, like Sean was saying, the trail is really well maintained. I mean, you really don't need any maps or anything. There's almost always a blue marker within sight to let you know that you're on the right track. And throughout the whole 79, 80 miles, we did not take one wrong turn the entire way.
So, what's your favorite memory of the trip? Because this is something that's going to stay with you for a lifetime, I feel.
I think I said it at the meeting, but it was when we were passing the like miles, just how many miles we were doing, and when we told her, she was pretty shocked, and she said, "Wow, you guys must be really good friends." And we said, "Actually, we all didn't know each other until today." So, you know, that was a neat moment, and I was telling them it doesn't feel like we didn't know each other. It felt like we were longtime friends on the trail.
Comrades in arms, brothers, if you will. For folks who have listened to the show, Mike Lamoureux was the third hiker. I often refer to as Mike as my answer because Mike has managed to put me in touch with, sometimes at a moment's notice, a whole range of people who have been involved with this issue in a whole different ways, from elected politicians, leaders of the movement, scientists, engineers. He's just been an invaluable resource, both to the Keep Rhode Island Beautiful movement, as well as helping us do our own little bit here to amplify a process and a discussion and a debate and an argument and a protest that needs so desperately to be amplified by all Rhode Islanders. Well, I congratulations. We're going to try and get some pictures. We're going to get pictures up on the website so people can get a sense of it. We often talk about people who are, we call them heroes of civil disobedience, heroes on a bunch of different levels. But this week, you guys are our heroes. The manner in which yourself and your 2 partners took this personally, took it upon themselves to really make such a positive statement on behalf not only of the Burrillville community, but the entire state effort behind this, while simultaneously bringing to life a part of the state that so few people are exposed to, particularly city folk like myself, and by really humanizing what's at stake here, that's a pretty tall order. That's a hell of an accomplishment. So, my congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
And your parents and your families must be very, very proud.
And I just thank Sean and Mike for letting me tag along with them and be a part of this.
All right. Well, before you go, can you give us a really good "We Are Burrillville"?
What do you want?
Give us a good "We Are Burrillville."
We are Burrillville.
There you go. Burrillville proud, Burrillville strong, and you don't have to live in Burrillville. You don't have to even just live in Rhode Island to be part of Burrillville right now, do you?
No, this is not just a Burrillville problem. It has immediate and distant impacts.
Absolutely. Well, again, congratulations, and thank you for joining us. And send pictures along. We've got some already, and we're going to share them with the statewide community so people understand exactly what's at stake and exactly what you accomplished.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night. Folks, 2 of the 3, I'll call them the Burrillville 3, the hikers, 79 miles from beach to mountain and everything in between. This show celebrates the art of the possible, the art of the involved. People who are, as we always close this show, people who take it personally. The Burrillville community continues to impress and astound me with their personal commitment that really extends on behalf of all Rhode Islanders. And this march, this hike across Rhode Island, I think really put a unique spin at what's at stake for all of us. Whether you live in the shadow of a power plant or you live miles away on the other side of the state, what's at risk here is nothing less than an irreplaceable, statewide, precious resource. Again, as we remarked, once it's broken, it can't be fixed. So it's incumbent upon all of us, not just the people who showed up at that rally at 8 o'clock in the morning on a beautiful beach in Charleston, Rhode Island, not just former governors, not just environmentalists, not just local stakeholders, not local citizenry, not college students from far away coming back to support their community. It's all of us. So as we close out the show, whether you be a professor from an esteemed university who's developed an international reputation for speaking truth to power about the abuses that a politically connected in our government would perpetrate upon a citizenry on behalf of some poorly constituted attempt at economic development, whether it be a state government that's irresponsive to the efforts of a few committed citizens in state legislatures to address a fundamental injustice, not only to the citizens who live in a community suddenly burdened, but also to the people who are so desperately in need of repair themselves. Or in the case of our last guests, a bunch of young men who literally marched across the state in some pretty challenging conditions to dramatize exactly what we're blessed with and what we have a responsibility to maintain here in Rhode Island. It's all of that. So please, this week, in some way, shape, or form, do what they did. Take it personally. Folks, you've been listening to The Coalition on the Worldwide Coalition Media Network, broadcasting live here on Go Local Alliance.